Angles. Angles are the amount of arc formed inside or outside of two lines when they connect to form a vertex. You probably are looking at this like, what? So all angles, let me say this, are based on a circle. And right here I have a circle. And we can see when we look here at the top that it starts at 0 and this is divided into fourths or quadrants. When you look around, you can see the degrees. 10 degrees is the amount of space it moves as it goes around the circle. So from 0 to here, that's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and finally 90. So this much of the circle where I have the green outline is known as the arc of the circle. And so far, this arc measures 90 degrees. That's the amount of space around the circle it takes me. So when I make an angle like so, if I make a full circle around, the part inside forms an angle, but the part outside also forms an angle. And so we want to look at, we're mostly looking at the pieces of the angle that are inside the circle here in this grade today. So I want to look at another site that I want to show you. So this is Math is Fun website, and it's all, a whole bunch of math definitions are here. And so I have what's a circle here, and I'm able to move the lines around to see. So you see it's at 37 degrees, and it's saying the word acute angle. As I move the line up, and when I get right to 90, it says right angle, because a right angle has a 90-degree arc of a circle inside. And as I move around, you'll see it starts to get bigger, and it's known as what's called an obtuse angle. And as I get right to exactly 180 degrees, if you look at the blue line, you see it's straight across, and this is known as a straight angle. Because it's half of a circle. And as I start to move past 180 degrees, as I get bigger, it's known as what is a reflex angle. The arch around the circle is now bigger than half, and we know that as a reflex angle. And so I can come all the way back around almost for that reflex. So you can come to this site yourself and kind of play with that a little bit. The tool that we use to measure angles is called a protractor, and that's this beautiful thing right here. As you can see, this particular protractor is a half a circle. You can see the dotted lines kind of down here to show you that it's based on a full circle. So that's where protractors come from, and that's why angles are named the way they are. So I have a couple angles here, and I want to practice measuring those angles. So the first thing you want to do when you go to measure an angle, I'm going to just move this so we can kind of use it, is you take your protractor, and right here you can see a hole and the place where the lines intersect. You're going to take your protractor over to your angle, and you want to put that part where it intersects on the protractor right on the vertex of your angle. This is why you have to know vocabulary. When you do that and you look inside of the angle, inside of the lines, again, this is the vertex, and when you look inside of the lines, that's the part that you are measuring. No matter how big the arch is or how big the lines are or what point you measure, you're still going to get the same thing. So this bottom line here is, we can see it's pointing to 0 over here. So we want to begin. Sometimes you can have an angle that's pointing that way, so then you would start with the 0 on the outside. But in this case, we're talking about this 0. So as I look around, I want to stop where my line stops, just like if I was measuring with a ruler. And as I go around, I can see that it stops right at 90. That means this angle measures 90, and here's the little symbol, degrees. That makes this a right angle, not because it's facing right. That's just the name for it. It's perpendicular. All perpendicular lines form a right angle. Okay, then next we have this smaller one here. So I'm going to line up my protractor again. So I'm going to move my protractor. Again, I'm going to put the intersection of the lines on the protractor on to the vertex of my shape. And I'm going to look inside of the shape and I'm looking to measure this arch right here. Again, I'm going to follow the line here that's pointing to 0, and I'm going to stop where this stops. So I'm using the inside numbers, the interior numbers, and it's pointing to 40. So this angle measures 40 degrees, and when it's less than 90 degrees or smaller, I can see that this angle fits inside of that 90 degrees. Well, we call that an acute angle. So anything that is 1 to 89 degrees would be considered an acute angle. And so, of course, we have more, but I'm going to turn this one angle around. This time I turned the angle around because I wanted you to see measurement on the other side using the exterior angles. So here's my protractor, again, putting the intersection right on the vertex of the line. And now this time, because my line is facing this way, now I'm going to look at this 0 that's on the outside, and I'm going to now look at the outside or exterior numbers, and then I'm going to follow my line all the way up. And I can see that my line reads about 131. So I'm going to write 131 degrees. Any angle that is larger than 90 degrees up to 179 degrees, we call that an obtuse. I better move over some more. I have room to write. We call that an obtuse angle because it is larger than a perpendicular line, which is a 90-degree angle. And then last but not least, as you saw this demonstration earlier when I went to Math is Fun, I'm going to just put this right on the line, right in the middle, just because. Now they both go to 0, so I can choose a side. I can go to the right, look at this 0, but if I look at this 0, then I need to use the numbers on the bottom or the interior numbers. And I want to go all the way around until I get to the end of the other side of the line, and it gets me to 180 degrees. So 180 degrees exactly is known as a straight angle because it forms a straight line, and it almost looks like a sunset on the inside of my angle. So that is how you measure angles, and that's what angles are. Anything larger than 180, 181 degrees, all the way to 360 degrees, those are known as reflex angles. And that is angles.